Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about an article, some news that made some pretty major headlines. Now, there have been so many articles about this situation. I'll link a few of them down below. Most of them have the same information, but some of them are more extensive, so depending on how much you want to read into this, you have the choice to see more or less. So one thing I actually want to preface is that some of the articles, I didn't like the titles that they were giving, mainly because some were focusing on the gender identity of said assistant professor as opposed to what they actually said, which I just think is useless because their gender identity doesn't really matter, like it doesn't factor in to all of this. So I tried to find an article that was more focused on what they said. Virginia professor under attack after saying sexual attraction to children isn't always immoral. So obviously, as you can imagine, people did not react well to this. To be honest, it doesn't get much better in my opinion. I still think the argument that this professor, they're actually an assistant professor if I'm not mistaken, their take is not something I agree with. So, Alan Walker, who teaches sociology and criminal justice at Old Dominion University, made the controversial comment while discussing minor attracted persons and pedophiles during a November 8th interview with the Prostasia Foundation, a San Francisco-based child protection organization. One thing I want to make clear, and this will come up later in the article, which is why I'm telling you right now, when I use the term MAP, it's simply because using the term pedophile will probably get YouTube to hide your video or even not show your video to your subscribers because you use the term pedophile. So when I use MAP, it's not because I want to protect them, it's because if I use the real term, I might get, in some ways, censored. And I also think it's important to know what MAP means, so when you see it, or if you have a kid, a little sister, a little brother, and they follow an account that says MAP or are followed by an account that says MAP, you know that you need to block them because the person is a pedophile. Walker was discussing their book, A Long Dark Shadow, Minor Attracted People and Their Pursuit of Dignity, when he insisted it's important to use that terminology instead of pedophile because it's less stigmatizing. A lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that means a sex offender, and that isn't true, Walker said during the 28-minute interview, and it also leads to a lot of misconceptions about attractions towards minors. Now, I don't know about other people, but when I hear the term pedophile, I don't automatically assume that the person has acted on their attraction. I just take it as they are attracted to children, basically. So I don't know where this assumption is coming from, but I don't really think that necessarily that is true. I'd like to see maybe a survey saying, hey, if you hear pedophile, do you automatically think sex offender, or do you just think of the actual definition of pedophile? Walker acknowledged use of the term minor attracted persons, or MAPS, suggests to some that it's okay to be attracted to children, but said labeling anyone wholly by their sexual desires doesn't indicate anything about their morality. Now, this part is where I start to become uncomfortable with this entire discussion. From my perspective, there is no morality or immorality attached to attraction to anyone because no one can control who they're attracted to at all, Walker said. In other words, it's not who we're attracted to that's either okay or not okay, it's our behaviors in responding to that attraction that are either okay or not okay. Walker said child sex abuse is never, ever okay, but that having sexual urges towards children isn't necessarily wrong as long as those desires aren't acted. Of course, I agree. You should never take action if you have thoughts like that. You should go seek therapy. What I disagree with is calling upon morality here, because we can't sit here and say that it's absolutely run-of-the-mill, the norm, to be attracted to children. So while I agree that not acting on it is great, we also have to acknowledge that it's not okay, it's not normal to look at children that way, and it's also not realistic to kind of just accept that kind of attraction, because I think that kind of feeds into a pathway that leads to thinking it's normal. Because if someone is attracted to children, if they're a pedophile, and they say, you know, like, as long as I don't act on it, it's fine. That's not realistic either, because it's not fine. It shouldn't be normalized. You need to seek therapy. You need to find a way to deal with those things, because realistically, how do we even know that these people aren't going to get to the point where for them in their mind it's so normalized that they're going to act on it? So to pretend that it's entirely okay and not inappropriate, I don't understand that. If you go down avenues to help yourself, that's a different story. But if you just accept it blindly, as long as you're not doing it, you're a moral person. As long as you're not acting on it, you're a moral person. I don't agree with that either, because it's like with any other dangerous urge. If you don't seek help for those urges, how long can you go before you act on those urges? And I believe it's also irresponsible to not get help when you could be a danger and are a danger effectively. We have a tendency to want to categorize people with these attractions as evil or morally corrupt, Walker continued, but when we're talking about non-offending MAPs, these are people who have an attraction they didn't ask for. Walker said non-offending MAPs, by definition, do not sexually abuse children, thus making their behavior clearly distinct from that of pedophiles. So their behaviors are moral, Walker said, but they're still being subjected to the same idea that they're bad people, and they've often internalized that for themselves. Again, I think we return to the same discussion that is, it's like having a mental disorder. If you have a mental disorder that brings you to have dangerous urges, like urges to hurt people or urges to hurt yourself, it's your responsibility to get help for those disorders so you don't hurt anyone else or yourself. In the same way, even if you're a non-offending MAP, you still have those urges. So I think it's only responsible to get therapy, to find some kind of resource that will help you, hopefully in some way, find a way to curb those urges forever. I don't think you can ever make them go away entirely, but I also don't think that you can say that non-offending MAPs are entirely moral. Also, because I'm wondering if these non-offending MAPs also don't consume CP, because that also is a problem. I don't know if that counts as an offense or if offenses are only like physical contact, but still, I'm wondering what qualifies a non-offending MAP, because there's still ways that these people can contribute to child trafficking, to CP, in indirect ways that are harmful as well. I don't think this argument should have been focused on morality. I think the argument should be focused on what it is that can be done, because here we're just having a circular conversation of saying, oh yeah, if you're non-offending, you're technically moral, which again, we can't really say. We don't know what is on these people's hard drives, like, you know? So I do think that in some respects, Alan was defending MAPs in a very kind of particular way. Anyways, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think that morality is really something that's important here, or do you think that we should be talking in more of a strategic and logistical way, in the sense of, okay, we have people who have these urges, how do we protect children? How do we kind of have these people process these urges without hurting anyone, without promoting CP, without promoting child trafficking? Which one do you think is most helpful? You guys can let me know. As of now, Alan has been put on leave, and the university wanted it to, obviously, and not surprisingly, separate themselves from Alan. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.